Welcome everybody to NFTs in the Arena. You with your host Mike and John. What is
What's
up,
up,
Donna?
Mike? How you doing, dude? How's it, everybody?
I feel I feel like I have a radio voice
That
there. Well,
sounds
let's just
super
go with
cool,
it.
bro. I
Uh,
love it.
uh, yeah, no, let's try that out. So, yeah, before for everyone that's listening, please, before we get into it, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and our
Yeah,
social
yeah.
media channels. We've seen some good viewership coming week on week, and I think it's just based on the how regular we are with this podcast now. And you know what's so interesting? I've had random people like bump into me that like I
Yes, yes.
know through like friends, but they're like, "Oh, I've been
No
listening to your
way, dude.
podcast." I'm like, "What?" Like like random,
Yes,
like
yes.
acquaintances. So I know these people, but I'm like, that's it's super interesting. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, you should be
Yeah, yeah.
obviously grateful for that, but like. I find myself like you sometimes apprehensive to actually ask them
Mm, mm,
they enjoyed it because I don't believe they
mm.
would really be truthful if they don't really know
Yeah.
you. But anyway, yeah, please like and subscribe. Let's get into it. The more likes we get, the more popular we get, the more better the content gets
Mm,
goes along. So, a few things that we wanted to talk about now. So, I think when we last actually had recorded, we had spoken about the whole Logan Paul and CoffeeZilla debacle that was going on YouTube, and there's a lot more that has come out since then. He's actually
yeah, I
come out and
saw that.
apologized. So you were somewhat shocked that he actually took a lot of his followers or his people that he influences, as people would say, took them for a ride, and they lost copious amounts of money. And he's actually come out now and said that he's first of all apologized to CoffeeZilla, but the most lackluster apology I've ever seen. And what he's actually coming out and saying is that he's going to come out and dedicate or give away or give back essentially
Mm,
$1.3 million
yes.
in Ethereum. But what immediately struck my mind is that Ethereum's price, when what it is now
Mm,
compared to what it was at the time, was
mm,
significantly
mm.
more, and now it's a lot less. So the money that he's putting in, he's getting a lot more
Mm.
value or bang for his
Yeah,
buck.
yeah, yeah.
So we'll get into that. And also one thing that we also wanted to speak about today is this whole surge now and this whole um, drive and this sudden spike in
Mm.
cryptocurrencies again, mainly Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything else that follows around that. And there's a few things that I myself would suggest has attributed to that because at least the beginning of the year, you watch a lot of these people, in columnists, a lot of these guys in the financial world, a lot of these guys on Wall Street, a lot of these tech companies are laying off
Mm.
thousands of people, and this is typically tell all signs or early signs of us going into a recession, which we effectively are in. But a lot of people would argue that now over December, when you look at the inflation has come down by virtue of the various metrics in which the United States and other governments around the world have instituted to drive down that inflation, which may actually give rise to the sudden influx of fiscal policy into crypto and the likes. So first of all, Jono, let's go. Let's talk to actually the Bitcoin and the Ethereum surge that's going on now. Some people are talking about it being, are
Mm.
we
Mm.
going into the bull market again? Have we come out the bear market? And I know you have a lot to say on this, so I'll just
Yeah,
give the
look,
floor to you.
it's very speculative, dude. Like no one really knows what's up, but the rally could be very dependent on the World Economic Forum that's happening in Davos. I think it's been happening
In Dallas,
recently.
yeah,
Yeah, as of late. Look, I'm not.
yeah. It's this
Yeah,
past
and this is
week
the thing. Like,
actually.
I'm starting to feel that Bitcoin is very, very correlated with politics. So I'm super DeFi, dude. Like I don't even own Bitcoin. Let's put it that way. And with that being said, a lot of the moves that are being played in high parliament in those areas, dude. Especially with even the dude from Ripple that's talking at Davos. I saw a tweet. I think there's just a lot of movement
Mm.
that's happening, and this could be just trade. This could be shorting the market. Who knows? But with that being said, I think that there's a possibility that there could be a bull run, but it could just be a fake. Let's put it that way, because we are theoretically in a year
Yeah.
that should be going up. But then again, Bitcoin halving is happening, I think next year, towards the end of next year. And I think that's really
Yeah.
when things are going to start pumping. That's when I believe Bitcoin's going to find its all-time high. I don't think it's going to happen this year. There's even a possibility that it might even drop again. And some say, I'll quote even Richard Hart, he reckons going to push down to 11K. And that's interesting because that's super low.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, and there's various
Mm.
facets to this, and you're quite right. It is very speculative, and I think I'm in agreement with you with regards to. I do think that next year, when the halving does happen, we will see the numbers in which we've seen back when Bitcoin went to 60,000. Because obviously, there's now less in the market. The supply is being halved. But I think like some things like Ethereum, like the Ethereum developers that they're planning to enable
Yeah.
staked ETH, right? Staked ETH withdrawals by March, I think, 2025.
Oh, wow.
That's one facet of it. Another facet would be like this whole
Yeah.
FTX restructuring team, right? They obviously have a team now restructuring the organization, and they've effectively clawed back, I think, close to what was it, $5 billion
Mm.
in lost assets, right? So this is now effectively giving people back that lost a lot of money back to them, and now they invested it into more safe
Mm.
cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin
Mm.
and Ethereum, I would imagine. One interesting thing that I saw, and I saw actually a video on it by a gentleman that was on YouTube. I can't remember his name. Just came across when I was listening today, and I don't know if you know this, but El Salvador
Yeah, 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 yeah.
in Central America and
I know
South
them.
America, I think it is obviously they invested a
Mm.
lot of money into Bitcoin, and they actually drive in and they want cryptocurrency to become
Yes.
part of their local currency. So at Miss Universe, quite recently,
Yeah.
Miss El Salvador, was wearing an
Are you
outfit with like the
serious?
Bitcoin
See,
logo, right?
politics.
But the reason why I bring this up is because yeah, it is because what's happening in
Yeah,
Davos
yeah.
now is very political. Because what they were saying is even all these Russian oligarchs used to attend these events. Like, what are these billionaires doing at these kind of climate events? And I actually saw Gareth Cliff speak about this. Is that,
Mm.
and I think he was
Mm.
commenting on an Elon Musk tweet where this World Economic Forum is this government that they've created, but
Yeah.
that no one actually wants this government. Like they're making and dictating decisions. So I think El Salvador passes this landmark crypto bill that they're essentially paving the way for Bitcoin to be backed by bonds in their country. Another reason why
Mm.
probably this has increased. Another thing around like I think AWS to offer one-click node
Mm.
deployment. There's things like that. And the one main thing that I think I find would have contributed to this the most would probably be this consumer prices that have fallen by
Mm.
0.01%, as I mentioned
Okay.
initially at the beginning of the podcast in December, which is in line with the expectations of
Yes.
what economists were essentially saying. But all of this is speculative, and it's very difficult to align the cryptocurrencies with the macroeconomic
True.
climate. But it will be interesting to see how things unfold. Also, with the potential of, I don't mean to say this, but we can't be naive to think that
Yeah.
there won't be any form of a war because there's very good trade relationships being
Mm. Mm.
established between Russia and China now. And then you've got talk between relationships between Saudi and China where they're actually discussing um, trade with obviously with oil, but not
Yeah, yeah,
using the
yeah, yeah.
US dollar as
Yeah,
the
they want to
backing
depeg
currency
from
now
that.
anymore. Which I think a lot of these Eastern, exactly, and I think a lot of these things now is
Mm.
going to create a lot of uncertainty in all markets, which will naturally impact and maybe actually create a bear market that we have never
This is
anticipated before.
look, like we've said, it's super speculative, and like I actually searched now the halvings on the 30th of March 2024. I thought it was the end of the year, so that's quite close if you think about it. It's a year from now. I wouldn't say that's what would drive the rally right now. I do think it's a lot of what you mentioned with the political structures that are happening around the world in Russia and China trying to depeg from the dollar. I think that's a big move given that they're both totalitarian states, dude. And it's scary in its own right. We thought let's be in a world where everyone's working together with a common goal, but it doesn't seem that way. People have hidden agendas, and this is the thing that leads to the World Economic Forum with what's his name, Klaus Schwab, as the head of that whole organization. And it's interesting if you look at his back end story, bro. Like, I feel like he's like a virtual digital Hitler of our day and age. And he's literally not he's not using his the tactics that Hitler used back in the day, but he's using some smart fucking methods, bro. And he's gathering a lot of important people that seem to thrive off this power game and money and all this shit. So it's interesting how it's going to pan out. But with that being said, I do think that Bitcoin is going to probably do a bit of a bear flag once it's gone up to where it needs to, and then it's going to come down and just run like this until the halving. I think the halving is really going to put us in a good position. But also going back to your point with the bet.
So,
Yeah.
in
No, no.
saying, sorry, John, before you go on, so obviously we have people listening to this and trying to take some form of knowledge from
Yes.
amongst all the stuff that we talk about outside of crypto. Would you, so in saying that, what it sounds like, you almost say it's going to come to a plateau and sit until this halving occurs next year.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
this is just your opinion, right?
Definitely.
Nothing that we're talking
Definitely.
here is factual, right? And we just it's just opinionated, and that's the one thing that I love about doing this is that
Mm,
we're
mm.
not saying that we're right or wrong. But in your opinion, if you like, I know you just mentioned
Yeah.
that you don't invest in Bitcoin, but say let's play the
Mm.
hypothetical card. You are
Yes.
investing in Bitcoin, you're holding Bitcoin. Would you wait for a few more months to invest in more Bitcoin? Because currently now, today,
It's
when we are
twenty
recording
thousand.
on the 18th of January 2023, it's just above 20,000. Ethereum's just about one and a half
Mm.
thousand, just below that. Would you wait to go buy more? Because what you're saying to me, it sounds like if it's going to trade at this level for the next year until the halving, where effectively or essentially it will get to the rates that it was in um, in 2018
Yeah.
and 2020,
Look,
right?
uh,
Would you
I wouldn't buy
invest? Would you
Bitcoin
buy
now because I
Bitcoin
think
now?
it's people selling the rumor. I have a feeling this rally is a bit of a fake out. So if you bought, let's say, what's if you bought
The Bitcoin fake
if
out.
you
That's what we're
bought
going
on
to
the
call
first of
this.
Jan, I think you should be selling
Mm.
today a bit of your Bitcoin, moving it into a stable coin. But I wouldn't buy right now. I would probably wait for it to drop. Like I said, there's a possibility we could hit 11K this year. And if I was going to invest in Bitcoin, I'd wait for something around that region. Because you must remember that if the halving is going to happen in March, we're going to start seeing rallying from Jan. Maybe even a little bit of a fake out towards the end of the year, just to, how traders are, bro. And especially with these big boys. Look, I know
Mm.
that
Yeah.
guys like Michael Saylor that are buying dollar cost averaging, they don't give a shit. They just keep buying, which is a good thing. If you're a Bitcoin maxi, like for instance, I'm a Zen maxi, I just keep buying. I'm not going to try and time it because I do believe having a lot more time in the market is more beneficial because you start to see how this wave starts to work. Like even if I was checking the Bitcoin chart as often as I check Zen chart, I would start to understand what's kind of happening, right? And that's exactly what people that are in Bitcoin are doing, and Ethereum, and any coin really. Um,
So what's happening? What's happening for Zen now? Because I can tell you now, a lot of people that are listening to this
no, not
probably
at
don't
all.
know too much about Zen. I
Not at
know
all.
we've spoken about it and
Mm,
we've invested in it, but like, what are some of the trends that you? Because I agree, a lot of people that will probably listen to this are
mm,
maybe not avid investors, or maybe checking Bitcoin at the
yeah.
very least on a daily basis. Like, what are some of the trends that you're identifying that's obviously giving you this hope and
For me,
obviously
one
keeping you
is the
intact?
first principles, bro. Like, look, when crypto was incepted, it was fundamentally based on first principles. You know, the whole DeFi, decentralized finance, focusing on the individual and how they can curate their financial sphere. And I find Zen being the epitome of that right now. The reason why I say that is because it doesn't have an OA, which Bitcoin does. What I mean by that is Satoshi holds pretty much 51% of the Bitcoin. So whoever that may be, we don't know who that is. It could be the CIA, it could be anyone, really. and they could just pull that plug in any moment. Yeah, yeah,
Conspiracy
yeah. The
theories.
fact that there's
Conspiracy
some
theories.
unknown dude
Yeah.
that is holding the majority of the supply, and you've never heard from them since, tells me something. And much like if you were to look at Hex, for instance, it also has an OA. 90% of the supply is owned by Richard Hart. And this is a good thing and a bad thing, because the good thing, the upside to it, is that Richard Hart can control the sell pressure by holding so much. So if he really believes in his community and the vision, we would all have faith that he's not going to pull the plug, or that's known as rug pull. Um, but when you look at Zen, it doesn't have any of that. There's no one, not even the founder, Jack Levine, can say, okay, guys, fuck you, I'm out, and pull the plug on it. It's immutable. It works without him even being there. So this is the yes, which is
It
very
operates on its
fundamentally
own.
important to me
Yeah.
as an investor. And the beauty, the second part, the second beauty to Zen is that you mint it. You don't even need to invest and use your own money. You just need to be able to substantiate the gas fee in the transaction in order to mint the asset into the future. So it's basically like Hex's time deposit. This is the inverse, where you wait for you mint into the future. So like you can create 5 days, 10 days, but those aren't really profitable, because you'll be paying, depending on the guy, you could be paying $5 to $10 just to receive not even a dollar's worth of Zen. So this is why it allows you to,
Yeah.
push
Doesn't
to
make
about
sense.
465 days, I think it might be. I could be wrong. And this is where, if you look at the maths and you start to do, like, it's very technical, you start to see it's very profitable at the price action it is right now. Who knows how that's going to skyrocket, because the market cap's only at about $8.5 million. And that's super small, bro, for a crypto that has so much momentum. Like, it's literally like changing the way hexicans look at, because it's an interesting thing. It's like hexicans versus Zenians. I know it's very should I say, correlated to those two domains. But for me, initially, I thought hexicans were the smartest people in crypto, and I still believe that they are. But for them to start to question that and start to look at Zen tells me something very valuable. So yeah, it's interesting times.
And do you think so? You obviously know who the individuals are that actually created
Mm-mm.
these cryptocurrencies, right? So obviously Richard Hart. Um, do you think there's ever going to be a form of collusion? Because like right, I remember, and I obviously
Mm.
follow a lot of these accounts on Twitter, especially the Hex as well as the Xen, and you almost see
Yes,
people like
yes,
jumping ship from
yes.
one to the other and vice versa. And so speaking to your thing, and you're very skeptical around
Mm-mm.
like Bitcoin, for example, because
Yes.
of obviously the reasons you've just stipulated. What if, and I think is what I've come to learn, and we're going to get into the
Mm.
conversation now about Logan Paul, because it kind of speaks to this point now.
Yes.
Who the hell do you trust,
Fuck,
right? Because
tell
no
me
one can
about
be
it.
trusted in this space,
Jeez.
regardless, even if you know this person, right? So let's get into that, because it's something that is so still mind-boggling for me, is that how individuals like this Logan Paul guy, after that we spoke about it, how he essentially took all his people
Mm.
that he supposedly loves for a ride. They invested so much money, and he's only giving back
Unreal.
$1.3 million. When you look at the amount of money that people lost in totalium, it's
Shit.
over $7 million, right? So he's come out now, and it speaks to the point that we've
Mm,
spoken about
mm.
before, about this matrix
Yes.
in which Andrew Tate always refers to, and how this whole woke culture kind of is
Yeah.
feeding into this
Yeah.
matrix
Yeah.
thing. It's almost the gasoline that's driving it, right? And this guy now, this Logan Paul guy, that was so arrogant about and speaking so proudly of this crypto zoo and this pay to play we spoke about, and you play, you get paid in these zoo
Mm,
coins, and this is how you make money. And essentially, people bought into these zoo coins, and he's like saying he's come out and essentially now played the blame game and kind of shifted the blame and taken accountability away from himself, essentially saying, "I'll pay back this 1.3. But it's not my fault
Yeah.
that people actually invested
Mm,
in this.
mm.
It's just, you know what I mean? But like, he gave that perception because he has over 20 million people
Yes.
following him on YouTube. He's an influencer. And I don't believe people like
Mm,
that deserve to be
mm,
in positions that they are. Yes, you can argue that they deserve to
mm.
be there because they've somehow hustled,
Yeah.
but they've lied their way through that. And the crazy thing for me, and it just speaks to so many things that we see in the society today,
Yeah.
how naive people are, dude. You
Definitely.
see it a lot in South Africa
Mm,
now, like with this whole load shedding thing. People are continuously complaining,
mm,
but is
mm.
it the right people complaining? Is it the majority of the population? Probably not, because majority of the population is not as educated as the people that have access to the
This is it.
technologies to complain about this. And there's ways in which they're manipulating the load shedding because they're doing load shedding schedules that are more favorable in these areas where majority of their voters are, and not favorable in the areas where minority are. My point is that people are so naive to think that what's going on
No.
is face value, where it truly is not. Again, this whole
Yes,
thing with
yes,
the
bro.
COVID vaccines now
Unreal.
that's coming out. There's that Grant Cardone, that massive entrepreneur. Every single day they're having these Twitter spaces with
Fuck.
doctors from all around the world commenting on why are kids getting vaccines? How many athletes,
Mm,
young athletes, are having heart attacks because they had suppose and
mm.
no one is saying that it is the vaccine, but a lot of people are questioning why aren't we thinking
Definitely.
about that as a facet of this. Going back to my point now with Logan Paul is that he's come out and apologized in this video and
Mm,
essentially told CoffeeZilla he apologizes. And he's crying and he's weeping because now
mm,
he's at
mm.
risk of being cancelled. And this is my point, is that a lot of people are following
Yes.
these guys without thinking of the repercussions. It's the same thing as investing in a cryptocurrency and you think you know who the
Mm,
guy is
mm.
that's backing, whether it's Richard Hart,
Yes.
whoever it is. How do you trust these people? Which is what the biggest thing around cryptocurrency and NFTs is, that a lot of people are skeptical and don't trust it. The amount of conversations I get into people,
Yeah.
because obviously by virtue of our position with sports and being a digital collectible platform and selling NFTs, amongst other things, is that people obviously try to ridicule it. And I can understand that because this is how the market is portrayed. But wasn't cryptocurrency and blockchain invented to actually go
Mm.
against what we're talking about, to
Ironically.
provide that trust, to
Yeah.
decentralize these finances? It's so interesting for me. And I remember learning about blockchain technology several years ago and thinking, okay,
Mm.
this is going to be the way, the truth, the life. And it is currently being leveraged in
Yeah.
every form of
Yeah, 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 yeah.
technology now. And ChatGPT, we can speak about now. I'm
Yeah,
using
rock
it.
and
I'm
roll,
using it
eh?
every day, man. I'm using it every day. Fantastic.
Mm.
Those of you that listen in, okay, before we
Woo.
get into, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Next thing is check ChatGPT. We'll put the link
Mm.
into our description of how you can get there. And John,
Yeah.
I'm going to let you comment on what I've just said. Then I also want you to speak about
Yeah.
your experience with
Look,
ChatGPT.
yeah, there's a lot of FUD happening in a world that should be predicated on trust. And that's the one reason why crypto has come to us. And it's because we're in the age of trust, bro, and we've spoken about this before. But unfortunately, the dudes that run these projects and these cryptocurrencies are developers. So they have an upper hand on most people. And this is the thing, if I was going to give any advice, it would be to start to learn cryptography, start to learn basic coding, JavaScript, Python, just so that people can't walk over you. Because the thing is, we jumping into crypto. If you go and you read the white paper and you start to read the code, you'll start to understand what's actually really happening. You'll be able to point out if this dude is a faker or not, just based on the code. But for most people, they don't even know what the fuck's going on, bro. They're just going with the hype. Yeah.
So, sorry
Defos,
to interrupt
defos.
you, but it's going to add value to this point now. So when I was actually looking
Mm,
into this whole crypto zoo thing with Logan Paul, one of these things that, because this thing came out last year in
mm.
September, and I know I'm harping on this, but my point is to essentially educate our listeners
Yes.
on that. Don't trust everything that you see. I mean, what we're speaking about here,
Definitely.
we're open to be
Definitely.
criticized, and we're not speaking from factual things. It's just how we perceive things. And I'm open to have anyone
100%.
come on here and disagree with us. But like he had
Mm,
claimed, and to build up this whole perception that this project was going to be lucrative, is essentially when he came out and said he
mm,
has a massive
mm.
team backing this whole crypto zoo project, and he's invested
Yeah.
$1 million, right? A
Definitely,
million
bro.
dollars is a significant
Mm.
amount of money, regardless of which way you look at it. But when you go look at it and you look at the tech stack, it was just a fork of and a
Yes.
layer on top of a blockchain technology, where he gave the perception that they had invented a whole new smart contract. The smart
Yeah.
contract was
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
fork of an existing one. And then you go look at the
Mm.
actual the designs of so the pay to play thing and this crypto zoo thing was essentially you play, you get your animals, you have your animals mates. So you get like a gorilla and a kitten, and it's like a gorilla kitty, I think it's called. Seriously, it's just how crazy it is, dude.
That's so cute.
It's
Oh
unfathomable,
my
but
gosh.
it's
Yeah.
super funny if you ask me. But the thing is
Mm.
that so you play,
Mm.
then you play to earn, and you get these zoo coins. But even the images in
Mm.
which they were putting out to promote this thing was like stock images from
Oh
like the
no,
internet, dude,
but
like from Adobe. And people believe this, but my reason why I bring this up is
yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
people do not do their due diligence, even if it's the people they truly respect. And that's why these
I totally
influencers should
agree,
be held
bro.
accountable.
And they leveraging people's I don't want to use greed, but they need to try and make money fast. I do believe with Chat GPT and AI in general, it's going to nullify a lot of work opportunity, and it's going to be pushing people that know how to prompt and know how to create. And with that being said, it's gonna force an industry of play to earn. And I really believe this is gonna be it. It's like that game, that movie, Ready Player One, where everyone's just up in their shit playing. And I see that being the foreseeable future, bro. Like most people are playing games now, most people are watching Netflix. Eventually, that's gonna be your life. But the way you engage with that software will determine how you can fund your life. Because if you don't have a job, because trucks and shit are going to drive by themselves, AI is going to do all the law work, all this crap, people are going to need money to sustain a life. And this is where I do see play to earn kind of projects being a very valuable facet in the future. But then again, it comes down to competency, bro. Like, not some dude that's trying to, get clout from jumping onto a project just because it's nuanced and new. I just think that there's a lot of potential in the space, but it will need to be driven by individuals that are competent in software and have a vision as to what they're trying to achieve. I don't think Logan Paul was that dude. I do think he could be an ambassador for something in the future, but that's whether he's around still. When it comes to his old, who knows whether he gets cancelled or not. But yeah, like I do see that play to earn kind of projects being very valuable. And like, let's put it this way, like Fortnite, let's take Fortnite for instance. If you could earn real time value, whether it's through fiat or whatever, I think people will be a lot more engaged. It could be detrimental in the short term, as everyone's going to just be playing and then not focusing on the things they're currently doing. But there's going to come a time when it might need to be that way, just because there's no other opportunities for people to do or work in. And like I mentioned, if you don't know how to code, if you don't know how to understand programming language, cryptography, how are you going to transact without using your ability to play and engage with the software in a way that's beneficial for the top dogs? Because that's how I see it happening, bro. There's going to be no middle class in the future. It's going to be fuck rich people and people. I don't want to say they're poor, because that would be, downgrading the people that are in that sector. But yeah, it's going to turn out much like that. And Hunger Games was an interesting prediction of that. And I do think that Hollywood and media in general put out these little nuggets of information that, if you really read into it, it starts to make sense.
Do you think that this wealth disparity, because I think we've spoken about it a few times, and obviously coming from
Mm,
South Africa now living in Los Angeles, I think the gap is more prominent in a country, a third world country like South Africa, but you're starting to notice it a lot more.
Mm, mm,
It's a lot more prevalent here in the United States. I'm noticing it not only because of what the data is
mm.
showing, but I'm just seeing it visibly on the streets. The amount of homeless people, the amount of evictions that have happening post COVID now, you can't
Yeah.
even say that's only for COVID. And the amount of people that are leaving places like
Mm,
California
mm,
because it's just becoming incredibly unaffordable. And they're going
mm.
to states that are for
Yeah.
now affordable. But what does that cause? It causes this whole supply and demand
Yes.
economic drive. And I agree. I do think that we are heading into very turbulent times. And I think individuals that are in power and individuals that are set for life, like Elon Musk, when they're saying that they believe the way in which the world is moving towards is going to be a better place. But one thing I wanted
Mm,
to end off with is obviously Chat GPT. And speaking about Elon Musk and this whole Neuralink thing, I've been using Chat GPT now for the last few days, and I suppose since the beginning of the year. The amount of information that obviously you get and
mm.
the accuracy of the information is questionable, but the
Yeah.
way in which
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
structured is admirable. I love that because you can ask, like for example, anyone that's never used ChatGPT before, you can ask it, write me a business plan for a company, for a
Mm,
coffee shop that I'm trying to open up in East LA. Boom, it'll give you step by step. It'll give you information that you probably
mm,
had never thought about. And the more you add to that chat, the more it hones down and the more accurate it gets and
mm.
more specific to what you're trying to achieve there.
Yeah.
Speaking to people losing their jobs now, because why do
Yeah.
I need to hire a copywriter or a content creator or even a business person? Because now I can just have this
Mm,
do it
mm.
and do it be automated. But I
Yeah.
think now the opportunities are coming
Definitely.
with regards to open AI. How do you leverage this technology through API connections, whatever that may be? Is because, for example, I'm sure everyone that's watching this and that has Instagram or social media would have seen all these AI profile pictures of people. All right, everyone is posting these pictures of themselves, and what there was, it was an app. I think
Yeah.
there was a few. There was one called Luna, where it effectively had a plugin from an open AI source that you could go onto for free
Mm,
online outside of this Luna thing and get these images for free. What they did is they monetized it. It just made it a better user experience. And you paid whatever $10 for your
yeah.
photos.
Yeah.
This is where the opportunities are going to come. People need to start thinking about how they can leverage this open source technology to make I wouldn't say a quick buck because
Mm, mm.
but I do think it'll be short lived because this whole stock image thing of getting this AI thing.
Yeah.
If
It's a
once one
novelty.
person picks up on that, everyone can do that. But the interesting thing was that I was speaking to Xenia, who's a doctor, and I was telling her about my experience with AI, and she was saying in the emergency department, when people come in, sometimes they're having to wait 1 hour, 2 hours because these hospitals in the United States, and I'm sure around the world, are understaffed because these corporates are becoming money hungry
Mm.
and squeezing as much money out of that. And it's actually crazy because some hospitals are actually closing
Fuck.
down because of this corporate greed. But what she was saying to me, whilst people are waiting in the emergency room, what if they were to be able to utilize an AI technology to write what they're feeling, all their symptoms, what they're doing, and as opposed to using what like Chat GPT is doing, because there's
True.
nothing verifying
True.
what information you're getting from
Mm,
Chat
mm,
GPT. It's pulling it from the internet, right? So if you have
mm, mm.
your own Chat GPT, your medical one, where it's taking
Yes.
all medical documents, all white
Yes.
papers, all research articles, all theses, getting you the most accurate information in real time. So by the time you actually see that patient and you actually see the conversation they've had with this AI, you can come to a better conclusion and save you a lot of time, which will make your life a lot more effective and actually help you
Mm.
identify and the symptoms a lot easier and what way forward it could be. My point of bringing this up is that there's going to be massive opportunity utilizing and leveraging this technology, and the
I
time
totally
is now
agree,
to
bro.
start thinking about it.
Um, I don't know what I could be mistaken. There was a movie. I don't know if it's South African, but it was based in South Africa called Chappie, which was like you know, future
Yeah,
dystopian vibe. Yeah, 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 yeah.
the guys
And
from
I
Beyond
think
for it.
that they had this kind of AI
Yeah, yeah.
technology in that where you could heal yourself. You jump into like a pod and it picks up what's going on with you, and then it pretty much manipulates and mitigates the situation. And this goes hand in hand with that kind of approach because I do think people in the medical field are looking to that and finding that they can create a database of parameters that all lead to this software that can diagnose, it can essentially create efficiency for the next step. You know, there's a lot of, like, even I went to the chiropractor yesterday and I was filling out a form and it took like 15 minutes, and I was like, damn, if I didn't come here 15 minutes earlier, I would have gone into my time, which could lead to a latency, you know, throughout the day if every person just arrives on time and then still needs to fill in a form. So I was like, that definitely can be mitigated just by Web 2 applications, bro. Send me the form fucking by email and I'll fill it out and before I arrive. But there's things that eventually will arise where, as I arrive, because the doctor asked me a whole bunch of questions, you know, what are you taking chronic medication, all this bullshit. This an AI can easily do, you know. It has it like a little iPad. What's up? Boom. As I rock up to see the physician, she or he will know exactly what the next step is based on the you know, the output that the AI gave based on my internal inputs. So this is a very interesting thing, dude, and a great opportunity for people in the medical field to optimize on that, and any field really. And this is the thing, dude, like what I mentioned earlier on, the people that know how to create and utilize this software are going to be the future entrepreneurs of the world. And this leads to what Naval Ravikant said once. He believes that one of the biggest assets, or should I say one of the most valuable forms of metrics, will be ideas. So if all these other things are being solved through AI, an idea is something it cannot really, you know, create unless it's sentient, which we can argue this whether it will build a consciousness. But it's our ability to be creative as individuals that's going to lean itself into where the industry goes. Like, just for instance, what Ksenia was saying, if she starts to work on that with someone or with you and start to build on that, that's already an idea coming to fruition. And this is how we optimize using AI. Like, there's no real value in just asking it questions all the time unless you're building. And if you look at the concept of building, it's predicated on the notion of an idea or vision. And that's where the future dudes and chicks are going to be, bro. It's those people that have a vision, that understand the technology as well, that are going to make a huge difference in the future.
And with that note, we've come to the end, John.
Yeah, bro.
Awesome, man. Right, before we jump off, everyone that's listening, please, again, like and subscribe. The more you do that, the more we move up, the more we grow. Jono, as always, do you have
Well,
a
look,
closing remark
I don't,
for the
but
audience?
based on what we have been talking about, I think it's very valuable to do your due diligence and, yeah, your own research. Be independent. Don't just be a follower. I know we all fall susceptible to these traits, but we cannot be in a position to let go of our ability to question things and being of critical thinking.
Well, look, I think what you've just spoken about is kind of what Albert Einstein said. Learn from yesterday, live for today, and hope for tomorrow. And the important thing is to never stop questioning.
Amazing, man.
And on that note, I think we can end
Definitely,
off
bro.
because I think that is so true. All right. Thank you, everyone. We hope you enjoyed it.
Thank
We'll
you.
see
Much
you
love.
next week
Ciao.
again. Jonah, take care, man. Sweet.